All right, so welcome to another deep dive with us. You guys have really sent us down a rabbit hole this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole collection of YouTube videos, and it's all surrounding this whole CreepShow Art controversy.
Mm.
It seems like there's a lot of internet drama to unpack here.
Yeah, it does seem to go a bit deeper than just your average, online feud or something like that.
Yeah.
The allegations involve some pretty serious stuff like stalking and manipulation, even like digital deception.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be really interesting to try and examine, how this all unfolded.
Yeah, definitely. So let's start with the main players, I guess, in all of this.
Okay.
We have Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
She's the YouTuber who's known as CreepShow Art, and she built a really, really big following all around, like her art commentary and stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's Emily Artful, and she's an artist, and she was actually once pretty close with Shannon.
Wow.
But now she's accusing her of some, like, pretty disturbing behavior.
Okay, so we have kind of like a falling out situation, it seems like.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because there's actually another player we should probably mention in all this drama.
Oh, really? Who's that?
It's an online forum, actually, called lolcow.farm.
Okay.
Essentially what it is it's a platform where users can go and anonymously discuss and gossip about online personalities. You can almost think of it like a digital whisper network, and it's got this whole culture of anonymity surrounding it that basically shields the user's real identities.
So people go there to, like, anonymously spill the tea
Yeah.
about YouTubers and other internet personalities.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, wow, that sounds intense.
It can get pretty wild over there.
I bet. But how does this website tie into the whole CreepShow Art controversy, though?
Well, so the site's administrators actually have the power to expose a user's real identity if they, like, break the rules or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And in June of 2021, a Lolcow admin basically dropped this huge bombshell.
Oh?
They revealed that CreepShow Art herself had been secretly posting on the forum
What?
and allegedly engaging in some pretty shady activity.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we're not just talking about, like, harmless gossip then.
Not really.
What exactly was she doing on this anonymous forum?
Well, the leaked posts that came out of this whole thing painted a really different picture of Shannon than, like, her online persona. Like, for example, she was allegedly making all these derogatory comments about fellow YouTubers, even some that she had publicly praised before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, like, one example of that is a post where she apparently calls D'Angelo Wallace. And if you don't know, he's like a very, very popular YouTube commentator.
Okay.
Worse than CreepShow Art.
Wow.
Which is pretty wild, considering that, like, publicly she often spoke really highly of him in her own videos.
Yeah, so that's some serious shade.
Big time.
It sounds like classic hypocrisy. You know, like trying to present this really positive image online, but then secretly bashing her colleagues.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much like a two-faced kind of situation.
Yeah, totally. What else was in those leaked posts, though?
Well, there were also posts where she was bragging about her personal wealth, which is interesting because in her videos, she often kind of portrayed herself as, like, struggling financially.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big discrepancy.
Yeah, and this actually really struck a chord with her audience because it kind of taps into that anxiety about, like, influencer authenticity.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You know, it's like, can we ever really know who these people are behind the, like, carefully crafted online personas?
That's such a good point. It really makes you wonder, like, what drives someone to construct such a drastically different image of themselves online?
Yeah.
Is it just purely for financial gain?
Yeah.
Or is there something, like, more to it?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but it's definitely a question worth considering as we go deeper into all of this.
For sure. So was there anything else?
Yeah, actually, so the leaked posts also suggested that she was using, like, multiple accounts to basically manipulate discussions and stir up drama.
What?
Yeah, like she would argue with herself to create this illusion of, like, controversy and engagement around her content. Oh my gosh. So she was basically, like, orchestrating her own drama to keep people hooked on her channel.
It really seems that way, and to make matters even worse.
Yeah.
In some of these posts, she was using, like, transphobic slurs and even misgendering her own non-binary sibling.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and this obviously directly conflicted with her public persona as, like, an LGBTQ plus ally.
Oh my gosh, that's awful. It just adds, like, another layer to this whole complex situation.
Right.
So when all of these leaks surfaced, what happened?
Well, I mean, it sparked an immediate outcry from her fan base.
Of course.
But how did CreepShow Art respond to these serious allegations?
Yeah, did she just, like, admit to the post and try to explain herself?
Not quite.
Huh.
Instead of coming clean,
Yeah.
she actually issued a community post claiming to be the victim of a stalker.
Oh,
So
wow.
she was insisting that someone else was behind the Lolcow posts and was trying to, like, frame her and destroy her reputation.
Oh my gosh. But didn't the Lolcow admin reveal that the IP addresses linked to the posts matched Shannon's known locations and devices?
They did, yeah. So her story completely unraveled then.
Pretty much. It also didn't help that she was saying her stalker was using this alias like Amy,
Oh,
which totally contradicted her earlier statements where she had claimed she was protecting her stalker's identity.
oh, wow. So her attempt to, like, control the narrative backfired pretty
Oh,
spectacularly.
yeah, big time.
This is crazy. This is just the tip of the iceberg, right?
It is, yeah.
Things took an even darker turn when Emily Artful, that we mentioned earlier, came forward with her own accusations against Shannon.
Right, and this is where the personal impact of all of this alleged manipulation becomes, like, tragically clear.
Yeah.
Emily is alleging that Shannon had been stalking her for years.
Why?
Yeah, both online and in person.
Oh, my God.
To make matters even worse, she also claims that Shannon was complicit in the abuse that she allegedly suffered at the hands of her ex-boyfriend, Anthony,
Wow.
who also happened to be Shannon's husband at the time.
Okay, so this just adds a whole new dimension to the story. So Emily isn't just accusing Shannon of being a hypocrite and a manipulator online, but also of engaging in really harmful behavior offline.
Exactly.
This is a lot to unpack.
It is.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We left off with some pretty serious accusations from Emily Artful.
Yeah.
Just to recap, she's alleging that Shannon, a.k.a. CreepShow Art, stalked her for years,
Right.
both online and offline, and was even complicit in the abuse she experienced from Anthony,
Yeah.
who was her ex-boyfriend, but also married to Shannon at the time.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to unpack.
It really is.
And Emily's testimony is incredibly powerful. And I think it really sheds light on the real-world consequences
Yeah.
of the manipulative behavior that we were talking about before.
Right.
You know, it's a reminder that what we see online can be a very carefully constructed facade.
Yeah.
And that even people who might appear harmless or even supportive, you know,
Right.
can have some darker intentions lurking beneath the surface.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in all the drama and forget that there are real people involved
Totally.
who have been really deeply affected by these actions. So just to be clear, Emily is saying that Shannon was the one sending her those disturbing images and messages, not some random stalker.
Exactly.
Okay.
And she goes on to describe how this long-term harassment has really impacted her life, you know, affecting her mental health, her relationships. And her story really highlights this particularly troubling aspect of online culture, I think.
What's that?
This phenomenon of parasocial relationships.
You mentioned that term earlier.
I did, yeah.
Could you explain that a little bit more?
Sure.
I think it's really crucial to understanding how someone like CreepShow Art was able to build such a devoted following in the first place.
Absolutely. So a parasocial relationship is basically this one-sided bond that a viewer or a fan develops with a media figure.
Okay.
This could be a YouTuber, a musician, a podcast host, even a fictional character. And it's this illusion of intimacy of friendship, even though the media figure doesn't know the viewer personally.
Right. I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you watch a sitcom for years, you start to feel like you know the characters.
Totally.
You might even be shocked to learn that the actor who plays the nice guy on screen is actually totally different in real life.
Right.
That's kind of the power of those one-sided bonds.
Exactly.
They create this false sense of familiarity and trust.
And that's where the potential for manipulation comes in.
Yeah.
A skilled influencer like Shannon can leverage that parasocial bond to gain trust, to build a loyal fan base, and even deflect criticism when things go wrong.
It's like they're using that perceived friendship to control the narrative and escape accountability.
Exactly.
CreepShow Art really cultivated this image of being like the art mom of YouTube.
Right.
Supportive, encouraging, uplifting. She even featured her fans' artwork in her videos,
Yeah.
giving them shout-outs, making them feel seen and appreciated. It's a brilliant, albeit manipulative strategy.
It's a textbook example of how someone can exploit that parasocial bond for personal gain.
And it worked.
Oh, yeah, it worked really well.
She amassed this huge, devoted following who genuinely believed they knew her, trusted her implicitly,
Right.
which makes the eventual betrayal, the exposure of her alleged manipulation and hypocrisy all the more devastating for those fans.
Definitely.
But let's get back to the timeline of events.
Okay.
At this point, CreepShow Art's reputation is in tatters.
Yeah.
She's been exposed as a potential manipulator, a hypocrite, and possibly even a stalker.
Right.
Did she just, like, disappear from the internet at that point?
Actually, no.
Really?
After about 6 months of silence, Shannon returned to YouTube with this 2.5-hour video attempting to debunk Emily's claims and clear her name.
Really?
It was a bold move, but ultimately it seemed to kind of backfire.
A 2.5-hour video?
Yeah.
That's quite a commitment.
It is.
Why do you think it backfired, though?
Well, for starters, the video began with a demonstrably false statement about legal action being taken against Emily.
So she starts off with a lie.
Pretty much.
Not a great way to rebuild trust.
No, not at all.
What else did she do in this video?
Well, she then went on to dig up all of Emily's old social media posts, some dating back as far as 2005.
Wow.
And it seemed like an attempt to portray Emily as unstable and untrustworthy.
Dredging up posts from someone's teenage years?
Yeah.
That's a new low.
It is pretty low.
So is there anything else?
Yeah, but I think the most damaging aspect of the video was her attack on Emily's mental health and addiction struggles.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of viewers found this to be like really insensitive and exploitative, especially coming from someone who had built her whole career on promoting positivity and support.
So instead of offering a genuine apology and taking responsibility for her actions, she basically doubled down on the manipulation and victim blaming.
I mean, yeah, that's one way to put it.
And the internet was not having it.
Oh, no, they were not.
The video was met with widespread dislike, mockery, and ultimately just further damage to Shannon's credibility. It seems like she really dug herself into a deeper hole with that video.
Yeah, it really does.
This whole thing raises a really important question, though.
What's that?
How can we, as consumers of online content, avoid falling prey to this kind of manipulation?
That's a great question, and it's one that we're going to explore further in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll discuss some red flags to look out for and strategies for navigating the complex world of online personalities.
Sounds like essential advice for anyone who spends time online these days.
Definitely.
But for now, let's move on to the fallout from this dramatic comeback video.
Okay.
And examine the lasting impact of the CreepShow Art controversy.
All right. Sounds good.
So we saw how CreepShow Art's attempt at a comeback just totally backfired.
Yeah, it really did.
But what happened next? Did she, like, disappear from the internet for good this time?
Not entirely. She's continued to create content, but but her viewership never really recovered from all of this. She lost a substantial portion of her subscribers, and her reputation just seems permanently tarnished.
It's a stark reminder that in the age of the internet, actions have consequences.
Right.
And rebuilding trust can be a real uphill battle.
It can be, yeah.
But this whole saga raises a broader question about online accountability. How do we as a society respond to these kinds of situations? Where does, like, cancel culture fit into all of this?
That's a really complex issue with no easy answers.
Right.
Cancel culture, this idea of swiftly ostracizing someone online for, like, perceived wrongdoing, it's a real double-edged sword.
Oh, yeah. How so?
On one hand, it can be a really powerful tool for holding people accountable, especially when traditional systems fail to do so.
It does feel like a way for marginalized communities to amplify their voices and demand justice when they've been harmed.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's also a darker side to this, isn't there?
Absolutely. The speed and the intensity of online outrage can sometimes lead to a rush to judgment, lack of due process, and the potential for collateral damage.
Yeah, it can be like a digital mob mentality where nuance and context are lost in the frenzy.
Exactly.
And we have to remember that people are capable of change.
Right.
Cancel culture in its most extreme form can deny individuals the opportunity to learn from their mistakes and grow as human beings.
That's a really good point.
So the question becomes, how do we balance the need for accountability with the possibility of redemption? How do we foster a culture of online discourse that is both just and compassionate?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
It's an ongoing conversation for sure.
It is.
An evolving dialogue. But what are some steps we can take as individuals to navigate this complex landscape? How can we engage in these discussions responsibly?
I think first and foremost, approach these situations with nuance and critical thinking. Don't just blindly follow the crowd or jump to conclusions based on, snippets of information.
Right.
Seek out multiple perspectives, even if they challenge your initial assumptions.
That's crucial. It's so easy to just get swept up in the emotional current of online outrage.
It is.
We have to remind ourselves to pause, reflect, and consider the full context.
Couldn't agree more.
And we also have to remember that online personas, even those that seem like incredibly authentic, are still carefully constructed presentations.
Right.
Be wary of influencers who excessively self-promote or try to sell you something in every interaction.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's a good reminder to maintain a healthy level of skepticism and to be mindful of the potential for manipulation, especially when it comes to those who have built large followings and influence.
Now, shifting back to the specific situation with Emily Artful, it's important to note that while she did experience significant harm, she also found a new platform and community through Swoop.
Oh, yeah.
It's a YouTube channel that often features really in-depth discussions about internet drama.
Right.
It sounds like through Swoop, Emily was able to reclaim her narrative, share her story in a safe space, and connect with others who have experienced similar trauma.
It's a really great channel.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the internet,
Yeah.
there can be these flickers of hope and resilience.
Totally.
Her story also highlights the evolving role of online platforms
Right.
in moderating content and protecting their users from harassment.
Yeah.
It raises important questions about the legal and ethical responsibilities of websites like YouTube and Lolcow.farm. What can these platforms do to create safer spaces for their users
Yeah.
and prevent these types of situations from occurring in the first place?
That's a complex issue that platforms are grappling with all the time. Implementing robust reporting mechanisms, enforcing clear community guidelines, and fostering a culture of respect are all essential steps.
Right.
But it's an ongoing challenge, especially as technology and online behaviors continue to evolve.
The CreepShow Art saga has been a wild ride, hasn't it?
It has.
Full of twists and turns, drama and intrigue.
So much drama.
But it's also a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
A reminder of the darker side of internet fame and the potential for manipulation in the digital age.
Definitely.
It's a story that compels us to be more critical, more discerning, and more compassionate in our online interactions.
Right.
It challenges us to think deeply about the nature of truth and authenticity in a world where online personas can be so easily manipulated.
Such a good point.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
The internet is a powerful tool,
It is.
capable of both incredible good and profound harm. It's up to each of us to use it responsibly,
Right.
to be aware of its potential pitfalls, and to strive to create a digital world that is both just and humane.
I love that.
This has been another deep dive.
Thanks for listening, everyone.